just yesterday, Time Magazine published an article about the link between oral health and systemic health. And I'm going to read this quote to you from the article, and I'd love for you to unpack it for us. Each time you brush and floss, you're doing more than freshening your breath and preserving your smile. Research suggests that you may also be improving your overall health and maybe even extending your lifespan. Is there any truth to that statement?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Well, you're the guy to unpack this for us.
I always say optimal health starts in the mouth, and I'm actually very happy that's finally catching on. For me, the mouth is the entrance to the body. It's kind of like where the gut starts, and then it goes to the back door, this tube in between here. And obviously, the mouth has a huge microbiome. All of us talk about the gut microbiome, but rarely talk about the oral one. The oral one is actually the most diverse, second largest, and about 50% of your gut microbiome comes from the mouth.
Wow.
Because you're swallowing around about 140 billion bucks a day. And yeah, it's really fascinating.
That's crazy. Well, what then is the connection between, because you think of your gut, which begins in the mouth, which I love. I love this. When the first time that I heard that from you, it stuck with me. It resonated in a really profound way. But I think we think about the gut as this sort of one-way street, right? We absorb nutrients from our food. But how then does the oral microbiome play a role in systemic health?
So yeah, the oral microbiome is super diversified. It's very individual, depending obviously on the food we're ingesting. So let's say a breastfed baby has a completely different microbiome than a bottle-fed one, for example. Or if you eat a paleo-ish diet, or keto is different than if you eat a standard Western diet. And obviously, this transfers then downwards to your gut. And I always say it's the missing link to optimal, let's say, gut in bracket health. Because this part is not talked about. Only maybe about, let's say, oral hygiene. That's it. But what about dental repair? What about all these different microbes in there? What about leaky gut? Leaky gum is like the first start of it. And I think if you look at teeth, for example, on an anatomical chart, this is like an extension of your brain, like your eyes and your nose. They are directly on the trigeminal nerve, which is starting in the brainstem, and just the end of it. So whatever we do on the teeth, with the teeth, will get translated backwards into your brain, into your pituitary, hypoganglia, hypothalamus, ganglia itself, and can change it.
Wow.
And therefore, it's a big part of the body. So BioDentistry basically just means that we see it as part of the body.
So we can actually absorb compounds directly through the mouth?
Exactly.
What is a leaky gum? Leaky gums. What's that?
You know what leaky gut is, right? If the cells in the mucosa aren't tight enough, so it opens, and then bacteria can just jump into the system. So basically, what you have to understand is the skin is outside body. Same for the gum is basically outside body. Same for the gut mucosa. So if you get bleeding gums that a lot of people have, that's basically leaky gum. Meaning the cells already in your mouth are open for that bacteria that live in your mouth to jump in. There's studies showing various different connections with systemic health. There's a lot of studies showing that. So heart health is connected. There are a couple of, let's say, oral pathogens, for example, Porphyromonas gingivalis or Streptococcus mutans. Those are usually the 5 that we talk about in the dental world that are linked to systemic disease. For example, the PG Porphyromonas is linked to joint issues, but how can it even get there? Or can also cause neuroinflammation in your brain, but how does it get there? Super simple. As soon as this gum is open, like leaky gut, then it jumps in. And then you find it in the synovial fluid, you find it in the microglia in your brain, you find it everywhere. And also, this is lately is also related, obviously, to COVID back in the day, when we knew that the virus lurks in your mouth, right? But some people kind of had extremer reactions, like extremer cytokine storms. Now we know from studies that it's because of leaky gum, because the virus couldn't lurk in there, but jumped straight in. So It's all connected.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a pretty significant problem. So then, how is one to know if they have leaky gum?
I would say if you have bleeding gums, it's leaky gum. So if anything is bleeding in your mouth, it's not normal, even though it's considered to be normal in dental world to have gum bleeding. That's why we floss. Healthy gums, they're very light. They're not really red or so. They're more like light pinkish. They never bleed. My gums never bleed unless I cut them.
Wow. And so if one experiences gum bleeding, if one has leaky gum, what is one then to do about that situation?
So definitely only oral hygiene is not going to be the trick alone, because most people brush twice a day, most people use their flosses, most people use their chemical mouthwashes, but it seems to not work. So what we do is just basically work on your lifestyle. And obviously a big part is nutrition, as you know, and getting the right nutrients from macro to micro to rebuild the cells in your mouth. This is very cool because it's kind of like the gut mucosa, the oral mucosa. The turnover rate is super fast. So if you cut yourself in the mouth, it bleeds real quick, but then it's healed up within maximum 3 days if you have proper support. Same with the gut, actually. But if you're lacking nutrients, then it doesn't.
What is a diet optimized around oral health look like to you?
For you, it's probably super boring because it's just eating real food, man. It's the standard Western diet based on processed foods is why we have all that oral health issues. Oral health issues such as gingivitis, which is bleeding gums, or periodontitis, which is when the bone underneath gets attacked, or tooth decay is actually number one chronic disease with 90% of incidence. Yeah, so this is all connected to highly processed foods and not necessarily to your cleaning. So I'm always saying eat real food. By that I mean stuff that you can hunt, that you can fish, that you can gather. Basically meat, fish, eggs, cruciferous vegetables, and a few starches, root tubers, rice, the basics.
Yeah.
And not all that hyperpalatable foods.
What do you think about grains like rice, for example? I mean, for decades we were told to abide by the food pyramid. Something like 6 to 11 servings of grains a day were recommended. I don't know what the dietary guidance looks like in Germany, but it seems like nationally most countries tend to recommend whole grain consumption and things like that.
Yes.
From the standpoint of oral health, would you say grains are a supporting food?
So the food pyramid is exactly the same as in the US. In Germany, it's identical. Like basically the foundation is grains. I mean, you have to maybe differ it a little bit or differentiate it a little bit. So in my teachings, we avoid gluten-containing grains for various reasons, also for oral health, because they're obviously very pro-inflammatory. Gluten consumption is also connected to leaky gum, a leaky gut, and tooth decay, funny enough, right? Celiac disease, you know what that is? That is if you're extremely allergic to gluten, then there's good studies showing that tooth decay and celiac disease are connected, for example. So I'm personally not a big fan of grains, but white rice, I would say, is usually quite fine. If you're healthy, if you're athletic, then anyways, it's good. So there's not much to do wrong about that stuff.
Yeah.
But in the other grains, we have a lot of phytonutrients in there that not necessarily are helpful because they oftentimes chelate minerals, which we need to support strong teeth and bones, like phytic acid and stuff like that.
So a whole foods diet, essentially.
Basically, yeah, whole foods diet, but not necessarily based on whole grains.
Right. Yeah, I think grains are fine in moderation. I think they're great. And if you're going to eat grains, make sure that they're whole, unadulterated. Minimally processed.
Not ultra processed if possible.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have any sort of inflammation or ongoing things, you maybe need like a 3 months period to be 100% gluten-free, for example, then can reintroduce it as soon as your gums and your gut is tight again. But yeah, in general, it's fine. I don't have a problem with carbohydrates at all.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, not
same.
at all.
Are there any specific nutrients that you think are really worth prioritizing?
Yeah. So for strong teeth, there's solid science behind it. It's kind of like teeth are like bones. We need to know how systemic bone healing works. And the number one, let's say the key player in this is always vitamin D3, which is not really a vitamin, but a hormone that we build in the sun if we go to the sun. And what it does is basically vitamin D3 is bringing calcium back into the bloodstream. And in order to get the calcium from the bloodstream into your bones and into your teeth to make them hard again, we need a couple of cofactors such as magnesium, vitamin K2, boron, zinc. Again, the basics, but they are oftentimes very much lagging, especially vitamin D3. So this is something we test for every single patient before we see them like weeks in advance, because I want the level above the norm to be optimized when you come in for, let's say, a dental surgery or anything.
Wow. I've never gotten blood labs from a dentist. Is that part of your routine practice?
Yeah. In order to, let's say, get an appointment with us. We ask for blood work up front because patients usually fly in from all over the world, and we need to know how their nutrient levels are in order to be able to help them. Because we designed a complete strategy to come in for 1 week, removing all the metals, the root canals, and being able to do the surgeries. I want the patient to be in an anabolic mode, meaning full of nutrients, can build tissue instead of being catabolic, which are most people are, and that's not supportive. But as you know, I mean, one question, have you had your wisdom teeth removed?
Yes.
Yes. Look, I always ask 3 questions. One would be, do you have any metals in your mouth? I think you had.
I got them removed.
I know, I saw that. And I was like, wow, Max is now only getting that removed. It's
Yeah.
like late in the game. But there was the mercury ones. The black
I
ones.
had the amalgams.
Yeah, the mercury.
I'm a child of the 80s, you know,
Of
so
course.
back then.
It's still illegal, it's still normal. In 2025, it will be banned in Europe finally, but not in the US, not yet. And I mean, this is the mercury ones. The silver black fillings are 50% mercury, and mercury is the most toxic non-radioactive element known to men. So
That's crazy
I
that they
don't
were
think
just.
it's supportive to be in your body, right?
That's nuts. I mean, look, I don't want to fearmonger, but just to like, as a reasonable line of inquiry, that they were putting these highly reactive, you know, amalgam fillings into the mouths so readily of children,
Oh yeah,
you know, whose brains are still developing.
yeah.
It's wild.
I think it's actually insane to do that. But I understand. I mean, the conventional dentistry is based on the technical side of things. Yeah, we have to repair. And let's say the amalgam is just a super easy material that was subsidized by insurances for, let's say, the last 100 years. But it comes with side effects, and especially for kids. It's not allowed for kids, I think, anymore. So still probably dentists that will do that, like the older ones. But I also don't want to fearmonger, but it's really important that you get informed out there that if you have these silver black amalgam fillings, that you need someone that knows how to remove them safely, because we don't want to drill them out, because on a daily basis, they're leaching out a tiny little bit of mercury vapor, only like 2 to 3 microns, like a millionth of a gram. But still, this is still the number one source for chronic mercury toxicity. It's not the fish, it's still the filling. But if you drill it out conventionally, you have way more vapor. That's why you don't want to do this. So don't freak out, just like you did it, work on the strategy, and then at one point find someone who knows how to remove them smartly. So that's why one question asked. But the other one I asked you was the wisdom teeth removal. And I don't know if you still remember it. When was it? Like teenage years or later?
No, it was in college.
College.
I was probably around 20. I was probably around 20.
At least a bit older. I was like 14. But maybe you remember the dentist usually just gives you the consent of, we have a surgery, it's going to be swelling, you maybe need some anti-inflammatory drugs, maybe need some painkillers. That's basically it, right? They don't teach you about how to prepare your body systemically in order to heal well afterwards. Usually, for most people, let's say at least 80%, they are not in a supportive healing mode. I always say they're in hibernation mode, lacking nutrients, and then they come in, and that's why we all have these swollen faces and can't really heal properly. And in the long run, the bone doesn't really heal back, and we have other issues that you might not even know about. And it's something that, for example, doesn't even get taught in university. It's called cavitations in layman's terms.
Cavitations?
Cavitations is not tooth decay, it's not cavities. Cavitations refers to something called FDOJ in medical world, fatty degenerative osteonecrotic jawbone, which happens after any tooth extraction, but usually after wisdom teeth, because the body was just not able to heal properly. Not prepared, then a huge surgery, like a big trauma, big cuts, and then it only grew secondary or healed secondary, so it ends up having little caves or like bigger caves in your jawbone that tend to become ischemic, meaning no more oxygen. And then all the oral microbiome that loves it to be there, such as viruses, parasites, fungi, even mercury, all the things leach into there. And problem again is, this is something not taught in university, that therefore no one knows about it. And it's usually silent, a chronic silent inflammation, meaning you don't even have any pain there. But maybe you have a frozen shoulder, or maybe you have skin issues, or various gut problems, or deep sleep issues, or whatever.
Whoa.
And you don't even know about it. And I think this is one of the 3 health killers that we're always talking about.
So wait, how do you prevent that? People are getting teeth extracted all the time and wisdom teeth removed all the time.
Yeah, so I'm teaching BioDentistry 3.0, and for over a decade, teach the food design concept as well as the bone healing protocol, which starts prior to the surgery for any kind of surgery, so that when the surgery day arrives, patients are just in a healing mode. And then it's usually not a problem to help them build their bone. But if you're just coming from the street without any preparation, you usually end up having these issues. So therefore, it is just a next level of dentistry to see this thing overall holistically, which is right now not the case yet. I have a couple of trained ones. I mean, I do it for a decade. Maybe I've trained 1,000 yet. But the real ones, I finally have my own, let's say, I created a tribe of real biodentists, the real bees I call them, which are then really doing the biodentistry 3.0, which is the high-tech biological dentistry, just the technical side of things, where we only use biomaterial, but we melt it with functional medicine and health optimization, or let's say biohacking, to help the overall body to heal. And this is just the dental evolution. So it's not against conventional dentistry. It's just, in my opinion, it's the next level. You need to upgrade it.
Whoa.
To help patients.
I remember when I had my wisdom teeth removed, I developed on one tooth a dry socket. What's that?
That would have been my next question. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't have a number for that, but let's say 80% of all teenagers or young adults that get their teeth removed develop dry socket. What it means, your body wasn't able to heal. So it got into shock mode and stress mode. It didn't bleed, basically. We need blood to support, to get a clot and then build a new bone. So basically, I'm quite confident with 99%, if I do a cone beam scan for you, which is a 3-dimensional X-ray, we will find cavitations, and there's something you can optimize to extend your longevity and anything, because we don't want to have any chronic inflammation in your body, right?
No,
Definitely
not. Why is it that some people seem to develop cavities more readily than others? I feel like when I was a child, every time I would go to the dentist, I would have a new cavity that I'd need to get filled. Is that genetic? Did it have something to do with my diet? I mean, I was eating a pretty ultra-processed diet back then.
Yeah, 80s kid. There's always a genetic component. But as you know, genes are maybe that much, and the rest is epigenetics. So genes are the gun, and then you have to pull the trigger. So I'm also a kid of the 80s, and I ate probably the same food. I didn't have too much tooth decay, but I think it's a combination of the lack of nutrients with the dentist that wants to drill sometimes. Oftentimes, so what we do is, if we see initial tooth decay, which is still in the hard part called the enamel, as a biodentist, we don't drill. We look into your diet, we support your nutrients, create the bone healing protocol, and look in your vitamin D3 and critical nutrients. But most dentists just drill it. And as soon as you hit that drill, this is also something we learn in university. Lesson 1, don't use the drill. As soon as you use the drill, it's dental career. That means bigger tooth decay, bigger filling, root canal, dead tooth, titanium implant, and that's the career. The goal should be that's the future of what we're doing is you don't even need a dentist to repair, because nature is smart. In nature, our teeth are hard as stone. There is no tooth decay. There is no gum bleeding. There's nothing.
Wow.
But it will take a couple of years.
Is what you're describing, like doing all this preclinical blood work, is this standard of care in Germany, or is it?
No. It's exactly the same as in the US. Complete Western world is the same. What I do for more than 15 years now, that biological dentistry approach, I would say 99.8% of all dentists have never heard about it. So if they hear me talking, they're usually like, okay, that's a quack. I'm already the biggest conspiracy theorist in the whole dental world for them. But I'm just trying to change something. My goal is just helping many people. And there are more and more people coming. I think COVID actually helped a little bit, at least for that health consciousness. So people understand, okay, there's an immune system. We can maybe do something about our health. So it helped, because 5 years ago, when this book came out, I had so many arrows in my back. I think I got a love letter from every single professor in complete Germany, and shitstorms from day to day. I'm used to it, so it's fine. I know if you come with change, people don't like it. It's the biggest fear of humans is always to change something. So, but it needs to be taught. And I think as soon as dentists are more open-minded, and they should be very skeptical. I'm very skeptical myself too. But if they're open-minded and not emotional about what they've learned, they will just all have a better life, because they really can help patients now. As you know, no one wants to go to the dentist. My hashtag is probably no dentist. Because for us, people come in, they wait for the appointments for a long time, they prepare, they know something in their overall health will change. And also we will obviously do nice teeth. So it's always health and then aesthetics. So you can still, as a dentist, do the perfect craftsmanship, but you can also extend it. And the fulfilling part is if you tell me on the next day, oh, my elbow pain is gone, oh, my acne goes away, my depression is gone, and all these little things, oh, my Alzheimer's disease is reversed, all these things. And this is fulfilling to me, and this is why I need to bring that out to the masses and why I'm on that mission for such a long time.
Give me an example of something you've seen that, you know, would be shocking to one of our listeners or viewers, where you've improved somebody's oral health and then you've seen a downstream improvement systemically in one of their health issues.
Basically, every single patient has something like that. Some rather extreme things, some, let's say, more minor things. But one that just comes to mind right now is a patient of mine called Brad, because he was on a journey with really in functional medicine. He went to see really good doctors all over the world because he had rheumatoid arthritis, for example, and always high factors of rheumatoid arthritis in his blood. He also tested a lot of things, but he did everything. He optimized his nutrition, his sleep, everything we learn in biohacking or in health optimization, but still wasn't superhuman. And then I don't know who told him to come see us, but at the end he came to see us and we just did a panoramic x-ray, like a 2-dimensional one, and saw, okay, there's metals, root canals, cavitations, and basically prepared him and removed it. And on the second day he gave me a testimony. He's like, people are not going to believe this, but my joints are already, they're good already. It's not possible. Then he obviously went on and he usually did an oral microbiome test like every 6 months and had high factors of this porphyronas germ that I told you about before, which is connected to joint issues. So he sent me, let's say 4 weeks after his surgery, he sent me his new oral microbiome test, and this germ is completely eradicated. It's 0% from 100 to 0, and all the other factors are down by 50%. So he obviously loves it. And the same thing I could tell you for, I think every single patient has something from severe depression and tells you on the next day 80% is already better. My anxiety is gone. Some people have that during the surgery. I mean, it's coming from me as a dentist. It's probably for a lot of people like he's just talking shit. That's why all my trainees come in and see that real life. You have to experience it real life. All my dentists that I'm training get the same surgery if they have anything, and then they feel it on site. For you, for example, if we take out the cavitations that you probably have, we can actually also measure real-time HRV changes because you come from sympathetic and parasympathetic. Also have another patient that was one of my firsts that's always in my mind because he was a young guy such as me. I think he was 24 years old. He was really pale. And he said, for the last 5 years, I'm puking every single night at the same time. I've seen every single doctor in this world, and basically my diagnosis is like, I'm psychosomatic now. Could you help me in any way? I'm like, okay, let's just see your panoramic X-ray if there's anything metal, root canal, or cavitation. And he had one root canal. And I was like, and the root canal was connected with his nervous system to the large intestine and stomach. And I was like, okay, just take that out because it's anyways having a cyst. It's a chronic inflammation. We just remove it. And you can't believe it. You can actually call him. But on the next day, he's like, oh, I didn't puke this night. And this stayed. And for the next 6 months, no more puking. He regained 12 kilograms. He could start his athlete, like he was a professional judo guy.
Whoa.
Yeah, like these things. Or another one would be that I have observed. I didn't do the surgery. I was just witnessing it. So she was a queen actually from an Arabic country, and she was flying around the world for her health issues. She had like facial paralysis, and like one side was just not good.
Like Bell's palsy or something
like that. Yeah, she facial paralysis, but also kind of like a numbness. And she went to see everyone and came into Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland, where I was working at the time on a daily basis. And we just did a diagnosis with neurotherapy, injected Procaine, and to see if something could be related to her various root canals. She had a lot of root canals and cysts, so chronic inflammation was big for her. No one ever addressed this. So she had 25 people with her. So we said, okay, it's already improving a little bit. Let's do surgery next week. And I was only witnessing back then with the surgery. And she woke up, it wasn't general anesthesia, she woke up and this was gone. And I was like, it's not possible. And these things, if you have that with thousands of patients, I mean, I do that for such a long time, you see, this is fulfilling. Every single day I'm asking patients when they're on the chair, okay, you feel your whole body while I'm doing this. This is not, we don't work on any symptom here. I just take out stuff and your body can heal then. So you observe from here down there, whatever happens. Can you breathe deeper? Is your thinking clearer? Can you see better? All these things. Because it's a part of your nervous system, and if there's chronic inflammation or toxins or cytokines, it will affect your body systemically. It's not just your arm, it's the brain. It's an extension of your brain. Whatever you do there, it will affect systemically.
It's wild.
It is wild, right?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's totally counterintuitive. We're not taught this. Have you ever seen anybody's like skin issues?
Yeah.
Resolve?
For example, me personally, I had a lot of skin issues in my early 30s. Skin eczema, I would say, not really acne, but always red. And everyone, because I was already on that journey with nutrition and it was all dialed in, everyone is obviously pointing at you. What is with your skin? That's your diet. It's not on point. It's like, my diet is pretty solid. It's nothing to do with this. But it took me a while to figure it out. And then we did a cone beam scan. I had my wisdom teeth removed when I was 15 years old. And on that cone beam, 3-dimensional
Wait, what
X-ray.
kind of scan?
It's called cone beam scan.
Cone beam, okay.
It's just a 3-dimensional X-ray. So there was a big cavitation for me in every single wisdom tooth area. And I didn't know. I was kind of like guinea pig or patient zero. And we just said, okay, there is something. Let's just approach it and remove it. Let's see what happens. I didn't know that would be connected to my skin. But 2 weeks after surgery, I had perfect skin. No change in diet. Everything stayed the same. Just took away the chronic stress that caused me personally to have high levels of cortisol and a little bit of like a shakiness already. And the cavitation size of the wisdom teeth from a Chinese medicine point of view is directly connected to your small intestine. So SIBO, small intestine, bacterial overgrowth, for example, or just gut issues can be directly connected. It's actually a usual suspect, skin issues. Acne, if you have acne or psoriasis or eczema or any sort of skin issue, and you have your diet on point, you have your nutrients on point, your sleep is good, you're detoxing, and nothing helps, then at least I would see one of the real biodentists, if there's anything that is lurking underneath, putting you into chronic inflammation. Usually it could be the root canal or wisdom teeth, removed wisdom teeth. So that's why I always ask, have you had your wisdom teeth removed? And usually then everyone stands up.
Fascinating.
And you don't even feel anything, yeah? You had the dry socket 20 years ago, but that dry socket is still not healed. Yeah, you still have that decay.
Well, he gave me a protocol to heal it. Like it was painful at first, and then that pain went away. Like something changed.
Usually a dry socket, how you treat it is you come in a couple of times, and then they put in like a gaze with like local antibiotics, and it basically doesn't heal primary but secondary. So it just heals from within. But usually what the body does is just basically build gums on top. And maybe the cortical part of the bone, but inside where we have sponges part of the bone is usually nothing. Kind of like the construction site that never ends because you just had a lack of nutrients. Your body wasn't able to do that. And then over time it gets chronically inflamed. And the body, at the beginning you had pain. That's why dry socket is very painful. So because there's no solution for your body, it will just turn down volume and then you don't feel it anymore. But as soon as we open it up and making it acute again during that surgery to make you heal again, then you feel and see differences. We can also test this. If I just inject something in the gums called Procaine, that's a neural therapy, you could kind of simulate, let's say 20-30% of what could happen. It could just be that your neck is like stiff always, or you're not as sharp in your brain as you like to, or your sleep is different than someone else. Like anything could be correlating to some sort of chronic inflammation.
Wow.
It's really wild. It's insane.
It's very interesting because if I recall correctly, I mean, this was like more than 20 years ago, but I believe it was on the right side of my face. And I have no idea if this is in any way related. I mean, to me, it would be shocking if it was because it happened so far down the road. But in 2021, I developed Horner syndrome on the right side of my face.
Yeah, exactly. This is the stuff. Just last week, I had a friend of mine.
That's crazy, though. I mean, it was like 20 years later.
That is the problem. It's so hard to connect. And obviously, you cannot put like a research behind it that shows Horner syndrome is directly connected to that chronic inflammation that no one knows about in your jawbone. But if you understand how your hormones work, how your complete health matrix works, and cytokines, for example, the innate immune cytokines, TNF-alpha, IL-6, NF-kappa B, there's a lot of research around it, and if they work systemically, they cause high cortisol, muscle catabolism, and all these different things. If you put one and one together and understand the complete body, then it makes sense. Oh wow, maybe this chronic inflammation can cause this, or can cause a little bit of numbness in your face, or sagging, or another syndrome, or depression, anything. Like there's
But wouldn't that inflammation show up then on like blood labs? Like
depends.
Be reflected in your like CRP or are they not? Are those typical labs that you get drawn during your annual physical not sensitive enough?
I think the ones you need to take is more complex. So HSCRP you could improve with various different things. It's probably not going to show up. So in these cavitations in the wisdom tooth area, there's a specific chemokine you could test. It's called RANTES, RANTES, or in medical world it would be CCL5, so chemokine lignin 5. And if you put, for example, do that later, put CCL5 plus multiple sclerosis in a Google Scholar search, and you'll find 3,000 papers straight away. The problem is, medical world doesn't know that there's a chronic inflammation in your jawbone, and the dentist doesn't know about it too, so there's no connection. So it's an ongoing chronic construction site that never heals. And especially in the US, you have a lot of mold issues. I have a lot of patients flying in from the US because of mold. And where is the mold spores living? In these cavitations, because it's that part of your body. And it's like a perfect dumping area. They found glyphosates in there. They found mercury in there. It's not my research. There's one guy in Germany, I call him the Yoda of cavitations because he's already like almost 80, Dr. Johann Lechner. He has written a lot of books, but he always also has arrows in his back because, as you know, it takes a while to be accepted, especially in medical world.
Yeah, what do they say? First they laugh at you. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win.
But then you win. It takes a while. It takes a while. But if you just stay consistent, it's fine. Like nowadays, they don't fight me anymore. Now is really if I go to any dental congress, of course they may be skeptical, but probably because I do it more than a decade, it seems like they're very interested in. I'm getting invited to really the normal, complete medical, conventional dental things now. Nowadays. That was different 10 years ago. I understand I was only like 30 years starting to teach, and obviously they were like, who is this little dude on stage talking about root canals being bad for overall health? So it took years and years and years, but luckily I stayed consistent. For example, in this book, like I said, this gave a lot of shitstorm. But 5 years later, 50% of what I was talking about is now actually medical guideline. For example, I'm a specialist, one of the first specialists in ceramic implants. I'm an oral surgeon. So usually if you have a lost tooth, then you could get an implant, right? So an implant is a new root in the bone. And this is usually made of titanium, which is a metal. So let's say above 99% of all dentists use that titanium implant for 40 plus years. It's the gold standard. For more than a decade, I'm doing only ceramic implants, have placed over 5,000. And only since 2023 is medical guideline, but it's the highest guideline now. So now no one can criticize me for this anymore, which was a big criticism about he's doing ceramic implants, they don't heal, they're not the standard. He's doing immediate implants, that's not even possible. So luckily research at one point comes because of people like us that work clinically with lots of patients, completely different to university. I just see more people. There were times when I did 20 plus ceramic implants a day, because I was kind of like a rock star dentist getting invited for different clinics and just doing their work because I just wanted to have the numbers. I just wanted to be very good with the skills.
What do they say? It takes on average 20 years for what's discovered in science to be implemented in day-to-day clinical practice.
Oh, it takes so long. There's this one perfect example that I don't know if you know, but let's say 100 years ago, every shoe store had like an X-ray machine. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So we could basically put our feet into an X-ray machine and see if the shoe is nice. Like if the feet is good, has space. So, but within a couple of, I think the first 2 or 3 years, they realized with research, might not be the best idea because radio is a little bit unhealthy. But guess how long it took from that initial research till the last machine was gone from the shoe store?
How long?
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
They were X-raying people's feet?
Yeah. So you could X-ray you know that an X-ray puts you under some sort of stress. Like
a little bit. Yeah. I mean, if it's sometimes the benefits outweigh the risks.
Exactly.
Like if you have a health issue.
But you don't want to like hit the button for X-rays like 10 times a day just to...
When you're trying on shoes?
Exactly. But they did it for a long time, and it took so long. Same with the cigarettes. I mean, now we know that cigarettes are not the healthiest, but I mean, when we were kids, cigarettes were the best. I was smoking.
You were?
Everywhere was, of course, I smoked.
You thought it was good for you? You thought it was good
I
for
didn't
you?
even think about it. I was like, everyone was smoking. I mean, they smoked back, at least in Germany, they smoked in the train, they smoked in the airplane.
But at a certain point, doctors were like recommending certain cigarettes, right?
I know there's a book called, I think it's called Take a Lucky or something, to get you very lean and you look nice and slim when you smoke a Lucky. Wow. But this was like took like 40 years. And now the same happens with EMFs, for example. EMF is also some sort of a conspiracy theory, like 3G, 4G, 5G, electromagnetic fields. The research is there, but the research is usually, again, taking a while. And we need research data, for example, that is longer than 5 years, 10 years. We know that also for over a decade, but it's not there yet. So most people think it's completely fine to have like a phone directly blasting the balls and have it right next to their head while they're sleeping. Yeah. Not in airplane mode, just full on. But it's really not healthy.
Whenever I'm making a phone call, I always put it on speakerphone and I hold it away from my head. Mm-hmm. But I definitely wear my phone in my pocket.
Me too. I wear it in the pocket, but I always just do this and do airplane mode. I don't need to be reachable all the time. Yeah, just put it on airplane mode. As soon as I put it into my pants, I put it in airplane mode because even though you don't hear it or feel it, because maybe on silent mode.
Don't you have children?
I have 4. Yeah.
You have 4 children.
Yeah. You mean now it doesn't matter anymore?
Well, no, I'm saying like, well, yes, in part, but also, what if there's like an emergency at home? Like, don't you not want to be in airplane mode at any point?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a time when I need to be reachable, then I would put it not in airplane mode and outweigh the risks. Yeah. But I would probably not then have it in my pants.
Do you wear wired headphones or you don't wear Bluetooth headphones? I would imagine.
Actually, I always had the wire ones, the Apple ones, the old school ones. But Tim did a lot of measurements he did the AirPod measurements. I don't know how you call the machines in the US where you can really measure electromagnetic fields. How you call that?
I don't know. Yeah. It's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, me too.
So what do you do?
But I had the AirPods, for example, and I always realized that I get headaches and like a pressure in my head when I was wearing them doing the workouts and stuff. So he measured that they go very high in electromagnetic fields, and he found one with Bluetooth that is actually doing nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got this one now.
Is it a well-known brand or?
It's a well-known brand. I think it's Beats by Dr. Dre.
He found that they're very low EMF.
Not all of them. The specific one I have. Beats Flex, it's the name. Beats Flex. They have no EMFs, literally nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll like to wear them if I need them. It's just sometimes better than just hanging in the cord.
Yeah. Well, I wear Bluetooth headphones in specific contexts where I feel like, again, the benefits outweigh the risks. Like when I'm on an airplane, the best noise canceling headphones that I found are Bluetooth.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to preserve my hearing.
The Bose ones, I had those, the Bose Quiet Comfort or something.
Yeah, I had those for a while.
Yeah, they're great. Same thing. I'm not fear mongering when it comes to EMFs, and I'm certainly not running around with like a helmet or anything all day long. Is
your bedroom like a Faraday cage?
No, I don't have a Faraday cage, but we measured our complete house with a building biologist 10 years ago, and luckily our house is, I don't know, it's quite around the corner to everything, so there is almost nothing. I don't even have cell phone connection really in the house. I have a Wi-Fi, but I just shut it down at nighttime.
You do that every night?
It's actually automatic.
Wow.
Yeah, you can just what was it, a timer or something?
See, I'm concerned that if I were to do that every morning, I would have to reconnect all my devices. Which
it usually goes by itself.
Wow, everything just reconnects?
I don't have to do anything. No. It just automatically reconnects.
Wow.
You don't have to do that. No, it's easy. And also, if I would use a phone as let's say an alarm, I just put it in airplane mode. That's it. Yeah. It's simple. It's simple strategies, but I'm not afraid because I also know that we need it. It's great to have it. I want to have, the phone is actually my remote control. I have so many people in the staff. I have like 20 people in the clinic, a couple of companies. So if I didn't have that phone, I would have to have like in-person visits all the time. So I love it, but I know how to use it. Everything is like in quiet mode. For example, if I have WhatsApp, I know you don't do it.
Yeah, right.
But I have to actively go in there. There's no notifications on my phone. You never see anything pop up or anything. I just have to actively go there. Obviously, it's a habit to check emails twice a day, and same for WhatsApps.
Are you concerned about flying? Don't they say that just getting in an airplane exposes you to orders of magnitude higher levels?
Same as you said it. If it outweighs like the benefits and the risks, I mean, I just flew here with my complete family, which is 4 kids and my wife. I'm a little bit, yes, like I know that it's electromagnetic fields, it's a little bit more stress, but I know how to mitigate it a little bit. So I know how to help again, like protect it.
How do you mitigate that kind of exposure?
So during, you could, for example, wear stuff that is a little bit EMF blocking. Usually it's silver underwear, stuff like this. Or there's various different machines. I have one friend of mine in Germany, like 20 minutes from me, has a company for these things. He did a lot of research. It's tiny little machines that kind of balance these EMFs. He actually has research and can measure everything, because a lot of these machines, I'm not sure how they work. I always want to know how it works. Then obviously hydrogen-rich water, like lots of antioxidants you need, glutathione. I mean, if I fly back, I have
iodine-rich foods.
Iodine-rich foods would be good. Yeah,
I don't exactly know how it works, but I know that.
Yeah.
I watched the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, and they were giving out iodine.
Iodine, yeah.
Yeah, which apparently is protects your thyroid.
Yeah, exactly, and it's also scavenging stuff and helping with heavy metals. But also, if I fly back, I have a complete clinic for health optimization right next to the dental office, which is, I could do the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I can have lots of IVs, infrared sauna. So there's good things that you can do. I just balance it. I'm not a fan of killing a lot of things. I'm more trying to balance it out. Same for the nutrition, for the diet. Obviously, depending on what I'm going to do, or for patients, if I know they come in for the health optimization week, we take out all the things. I want them to be in a healing mode, meaning they will do 100% consequent food, then no gluten at that phase, all the right nutrients, but for, let's say, 3 months. And then maybe they could do 80-20 again. Or personally, if I just, for example, want to get super shredded, then I do 100%. Or I want to heal my leaky gut 100%, because I don't want to like jinx it. For the next level, you usually need 100%, but then you can go back to 80-20. I want to live with fun. I hate it if it's like negative and you have to avoid this and avoid that. I mean, it's the algorithm in Instagram, but I personally, I hate it. I know that if I go out and eat food, it's not the quality I probably could get around locally. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just still eat it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because the placebo is bigger than everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the same exact way. What I bring into my house, there's a level of scrutiny.
Yeah, same.
Over the products that I bring into my house.
Yeah.
I try to avoid ultra processed seed oils.
Yeah,
I don't
same.
buy a lot of like grain products and things like that. Yeah. I try, for all of my red meat to be grass-fed, grass-finished, wild fish, for example. But when I'm out, I do the best that I can, but I don't stress about it.
Exactly, because you want to have fun and balance.
Exactly.
And same for my kids. Like, I mean, they are allowed to, not everything, but they can have their ice cream. They can have basically almost everything besides Nutella. I don't allow Nutella because it's just so full of that shit.
It's also so delicious.
It's so delicious and so highly addictive, so I don't want to have them use this one. But they can do everything if they eat their real food. Yeah. They know how. I train them from the beginning what to eat. They're probably one of the only kids that will choose the meat over the sweets, because they know and they love it, and they know they can have it afterwards. So it's just training. But it's extremely important for kids these days. If you look at a kids menu in Germany and US, I think it's the same. It's usually some sort of ultra-processed food with more ultra-processed food on top, and then sweets afterwards. Like it's a wheat bread with Nutella and then chocolate Barbie afterwards. Like, it's insane. And you know that kids have a higher threshold for all these things. That means if you feed them sugar stuff or highly processed stuff, they get addicted immediately. And it's kind of like giving an alcoholic drinks. You don't do this. So this is really on the parents. You have to manage it well, because obviously then they're like, the parents, my kid only eats sweet stuff. That's a sweet kid. I'm like, no, that's your problem. You started it. So this is really something I want to teach. And I'm also teaching for patients, and I'm kind of strict about it, because those are growing humans. So they have a little bit, it's actually way more important for them to get highly nutrient-rich foods, whole foods. But then I think 80-20 is fine again, because they don't have too many other stressors in their life.
Yeah,
so 80-20. They can have a little bit of stress and eat a burger too. No problem.
Of course. Yeah, you gotta, 80-20 I think is the right approach.
Yeah, personally I probably do 90-10, but for kids 80-20 is totally fine. But in the right direction, not 80% shit and 20%
yes.
good.
Yeah, no, I confess I'm probably more closer to 90-10 as well. I'm not a parent, but little kids, I would imagine that they're sponges for. They model what they see.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're an ultra picky eater, you know, with a super restrictive diet, I feel like that's what they're more likely to mirror. But if you're somebody who embraces a broad array of healthful whole foods, they're going to be more inclined to follow suit, to mirror those behaviors.
And what's really cool if you give them real life experience for, let's say, the bad stuff. I just, one thing comes to mind. I was in Croatia once with my kids, and they usually don't see if anything is like weird with people, like disease, or they just don't have a filter for that. So there was one little girl, they were playing around, and the girl had like the really black kids' teeth, like the really rotten down teeth. My kids didn't see it. The friend there, and I was like pointing it to my son's like, look at this, the girl's teeth. Have you seen the teeth? And then they saw it and they're like, what is this, Dad? What is it? Why are their teeth so black? It's like, this is because she doesn't know how to eat. She only eats sweets. So on the next day, this little girl comes in. My kids are like 4, 5, 6 years old. And I sit here and eat my breakfast and I look at these two kids. Girl comes in with a pack of Oreo cookies. Obviously presenting this to my kids. Do you want a cookie? And I just looked, and they looked at the Oreo cookies, they looked at the teeth, and they're like, no. And this is such a cool watch, like me as a helicopter over there. I didn't say anything. I was just watching. I was like, wow, this is insane. And I did that a lot of times. Like, I always try to point towards getting a sensitivity over their bodily feelings so that they understand, okay, you want to eat that cake? Let's mirror your body for the next 24 hours. Can you do your push-ups? Or are you like loose in the middle? What about your nervous system? Can you feel it? Or are you maybe like even getting sick from it? And they usually are very sensitive then. And they can tell you, oh, that wasn't good for me. I might skip the gluten or whatever. I think that's just a balance act again.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be strict too.
You do.
Sometimes I have to be strict too, of course.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. I mean, I'm not endorsing hitting your kids, but you know, there is something to be said for discipline. You know,
self-discipline is number one.
Your children have to know who's boss. I would imagine.
Yes, they have to know. Yeah, I think this comes also down to the parents. Like if there's good energy balance, luckily that's with my wife. So that how you call it, the feminine and masculine energy is quite balanced for us. I mean, I'm with my wife for 20 years, so we kind of like grew together, and I think this is good. I'm the more strict, obviously, the more masculine in our relationship, and then even if I'm a little bit too strict, Mom will be a little bit more soft, so they can always fall back to her. And I think that is a good approach and helps them see boundaries. They need boundaries. I mean, I have 3 sons, and then the last one is a girl. So
3 sons and a girl.
Yeah, and 3 sons, imagine, 9 years old, 7, 4. There's only one switch. It's on and off. So full day, you have to be a little bit, like you have to control them a little bit. And also I'm teaching them stuff that I would have loved to had teach from my dad. I mean, we should kind of like upgrade it a little bit. So I teach them self-discipline. They always do a little bit of sport in the morning just to realize how to get to their potential.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
You know, there was this debate on X a couple days ago where Matt Walsh, who's a political commentator, I think he works for the Daily Wire, I could be wrong. He said that for children, you know, if your child is defying your wishes, you should be able to just say, you know, when your child asks like, why you want me to do something, an appropriate answer could be, because I said so.
Yeah.
As a parent. But you know, we live in a time now where we've become hypersensitive and you know, and we try to shelter our kids and lavish them with as much comfort and you know, I think an inappropriate degree where we've removed all the stressors from their lives, and it's created in many ways what some have described as a generation of weak, you know, fragile adults, you know. And so there was this debate because some people felt that, you know, you should always have like reasoning. You should be able to articulate the reasoning. But on the other hand, some, you know, have argued that for a child, you know, just for them to know that you're the authority in this situation, that's a better way to kind of bring them up.
I mean, I don't know what's the best way, but I do this way. So it's sometimes just like, because I said so.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue with them all the time. Why? Because I said. That's completely normal. My dad did the same. I have no problem with it. I think also I'm completely fine when they fight each other, when they punch each other. I have no problem. I'd rather have that than like out discussing everything, because I think that's not normal anymore. If you get like easily offended with everything, they will imagine this when they're like 20 years old, 30 years old. I mean,
exactly.
That doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, you said that and now I cry. Why?
There's a harm caused by excessive coddling.
I think so too.
You know, stress, I think, creates strength.
Yes.
You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's hormesis. It's hardwired into who we are.
Yes.
You know, as a species, as animals.
I agree completely. And that's what we do. Luckily, I'm like that anyways. So when it comes to physical side of things, I was always an extremist. I wanted to become skateboard professional. So I was jumping down everything when I was a kid.
Wow.
So I had no problem when my son was jumping down everything. Even then, when he was like only a year old, she would climb up like, let's say 2 meters and just jump it down. And I was like, my friends were like, oh, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But I was like, okay, I think if I can teach him how to fall, it's better for him than saying no to this, because he will anyways do it. And so therefore, I always approach it that way. Sometimes I actually, inside of me, sometimes kills me that I have to be so strict. I would love to pet him and like be nice, but
of course.
I know in 20 years time, he will thank me for sometimes not being like doing everything for him. Same with like stuff. I mean, my kids could actually have everything, but I don't do this. Like they get their presents for Christmas and birthday. Everything else they want, they need to earn this. And it doesn't matter if they get like a payment or whatever, but I always want them to really appreciate the things. Like when I was growing up, my dad was still studying, so there was no money at all. So I also had to learn all this. And I think I was super happy as a kid without having anything. So I feel that I want them to be the same, that they're not defined by external things. So we have books where we write down our goals. We have books where we write down the money they earn for whatever they want to do. Like if they want to, for example, my son wanted to have a cell phone. I'm like, you're 9 years old, you don't get a cell phone from me. Forget it. And then I said, okay, maybe he needs it because this future things, I can't take it away. So, okay, how much is this thing? He found an old one for my wife. It's like, okay, then we went to that store, it's called a handy doctor, a cell phone doctor. And he asked this guy, how much is it? Like 80 euros. And I was like, okay, how much pocket money do you get? 5 euros a week. Okay, so how long will it take you to get there? And then I explained to him, if you want to have it faster, there's ways to it. You can maybe earn a little bit of money, like by, let's say, cleaning out the dishwasher or mowing the lawn or whatever. So within that, and I told him you can also sell stuff. And in one weekend, he made $30.
Wow.
Because like he had so much new ideas and I loved it. And then we went there, he got that machine. I told him, okay, I want you to learn how to control it, that it doesn't control you. And this is still the biggest thing for me, to teach him how to use that smartphone. Because as you know, it's designed to make you addicted. And I don't want to have my son like this.
No.
So this is something we have to be super strict as parents. Very, very strict. And oftentimes, if he doesn't get it, I'll take it away again. It's like, sorry, dude, 4 weeks gone because you didn't do the 30 minutes, you did 40. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I hate it if I would hate it if he gets like drawn into it without knowing. And this is constantly iterating, balancing. It's really cool things to do. Not always easy, but yeah, I mean, I love being a parent.
Yeah, I think you got to be the boss. You know,
You have to be the boss.
It reminds me of my cat. You know, it's like I desperately have tried to get into a routine where I brush her teeth. And
You brush the cat's teeth?
I don't have a routine. No, she doesn't let me.
Okay.
She doesn't let me. I try desperately, but she kicks and screams, and it's impossible to do. But I wish that she would let me do it. And you know, it's not like she hates it. It's not like I'd ever be able to explain to her in a way that she understands why I have to brush her teeth. She just freaking hates it. And so she doesn't let me do it. And so I don't do it. But I wish that I could communicate to her, like, look, you don't have to understand why I need to brush your teeth, but I need to brush your teeth.
Yes.
And you need to shut up and let me do it.
I mean, this is same as with a baby. Like
I want to hold on to my eyeballs. And
Yeah.
so that's why I don't actually do it. But she, but it's a problem. I know that's not right. I need to, you know, get on it.
Yeah, same here. Like if you have a baby, it will just cry.
Yeah.
If you try to brush the teeth, it just doesn't like it. The baby is just, and there's no reasoning. It doesn't make any sense. So it is a lot of, you have to be quite chilled as parents, but at the other side, you have to be strict, have boundaries. And I think then, I mean, I don't know if I do my best. I just try to give my best. Let's do it this way.
Yeah.
I'm not a perfectionist. I just try to be better every day.
But I think that should be the goal, is to just to do your best, because perfection doesn't exist.
Exactly. And one thing I remember with my kids is, when I was a kid, I'm actually I was a very sensitive kid, but in the 80s, no one was teaching you sensitivity and things. So I had to grow up very masculine. And if I cried for no reason, I was just 30 minutes in my room or whatever. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I liked it if I did something wrong. I liked it if, for example, I get a slap in my back, because I knew, okay, that's finished now. What I hated was if I got tortured emotionally from my mom, for example, which wouldn't speak to me, let's say, a day or so. It was so hard for my heart. So I remember this. And for my kids, I always say, if I do something wrong, I'll explain in the evening. It's like, dudes, I'm only a 5-year-old dad now. That was shit. It was really bad behavior on my side. I'm apologizing for this. Next time we'll do it better. And this cool thing about it is my boy's always like, no problem, Dad. Easy. Yeah, I know you just tried your best. So if I explain it to them, they're totally cool with it. Even though I maybe yell or freak out or whatever. I think it's cool.
But there's something so profound in the saying that hard times create strong men.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Yeah. Soft times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
So I think it's really valuable to have those kinds of stressors and challenges as a kid, you know?
Yes. They have to do it. Like, this is why we start the day with some sort of push-ups. I say, okay, today you do 10 by 10, or you do 20 chin-ups. Do they want to do it? No. One of them, yes. They're all different. Like, one of them is like, Dad, I want to do 100 push-ups. The other one's like, no. What do you think? But they still have to do it, because I think self-discipline is something that you need in order to accomplish anything. Like, all the other rules only follow that one. So I kind of have to teach them, because as you know, this is not in our nature to have discipline. We have to somewhat train it and make it a habit. And I personally find when you do sport, it's always most difficult. And if you excel at sports, you're usually good at all the other things too.
Yeah.
Just fall in place.
Yeah. Because sports teach you discipline. They teach you, there are people on the team that are better than you are. They're, they're more skilled.
This is something that nowadays you get a medal for everything, even if you like the last one. Why? When I was a kid, it was like 3 medals. Okay, I get it. You took part of it and participated at the event, but I mean, there's still one winner, right? Winner, second place, third place. Not everyone is first place. I mean, that shouldn't change.
Yeah.
A healthy competition. I'm all about co-elevation, but in a sports sense, I think it's good for them to know that. And then they're frustrated, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Because when they get frustrated, they activate their frontal brain, dopamine kicks in, they think for new strategies. And yeah. And even though this is sometimes hard, because I'm already so old in comparison, I'm like, oh man, why did you not get it? I still have to go back and say, okay, this guy is only 9. How can I make it for him?
Yeah.
So it's balance.
It makes perfect sense. Talk to me about oral hygiene. There's a lot of, debate now about the value of fluoride, for example, in our toothpaste. There are, thankfully, alternatives on the market, should one choose to use them, like nanohydroxyapatite. There's been some debate about, and we've talked about this many times on the podcast, about antiseptic mouthwashes and how that might, when used frequently, predispose you to systemic disease. Yeah. Walk me through your oral hygiene philosophy.
So, the normal oral hygiene in the conventional dentistry, that's basically a Band-Aid for wrong lifestyle and the tooth decay, the bleeding gums, all these things. That's why it's designed to basically just mitigate the stressors. Yeah, but it's not root cause solutions. So as a biodentist, you always team no fluoride. Fluoride is not accepted and it's not needed. I mean, tooth decay is not a fluoride deficiency. It's maybe a deficiency in vitamin D3, K2, magnesium, and protein, but definitely not in a chemical. And fluoride, for example, we're using sodium fluoride in the toothpaste, which is completely chemical compound, completely soluble, versus calcium fluoride in nature is different. So that doesn't add up completely. But also, if you see a regular toothpaste, there's tons of chemicals in it. There's not just the fluoride. There's triclosan, there's carrageenan, sodium lauryl sulfate, a detergent. You probably talked about this a lot. So it's a mixture out of various different chemicals, including a little bit of a sugar to make it taste not as chemical. As you know, as a kid, you would brush your teeth and then everything tastes bad afterwards. That makes no sense. Yeah. But it's designed to disinfect. It's like the outside stuff. And the same is for that chemical mouthwashes. If you go to any supermarket oral care section or oral care aisle all over the world, it's just copy paste. It's all the same. You have the Colgate, you have the Listerine, the blue stuff. And it doesn't really work. So Listerine, for example, like you just said, it was designed initially to clean a floor. And I don't know how they were able to market it to clean. Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, it's floor cleaner. And this is what you should do with it. You should clean your floor with it or your toilet, but definitely not your mouth, because it will nuke that oral microbiome that we just touched on. We don't want to kill microbes. We want to have them in balance. Obviously, if you have lots of dysbiosis, various different wrong pathogenic bacteria in your mouth, you maybe need it for a beginning. Like let's say you need an antiseptic mouthwash for 2 weeks, but not for 2, 3 years, 20 years, 30 years. This will actually change your oral microbiome, and instead of giving you that fresh breath, it will actually make the breath go bad because you have no more microbes in the mouth, for example. So, and our same goes for flossing. That's why I would use something that you could eat. You put it into your mouth, so your oral mucosa absorbs anything within a minute, probably, just by the saliva. So the toothpaste I've designed is coconut oil base, hydroxyapatite as the active ingredient. Is it apatite or in English?
I think it's apetite. It could be, I don't know, tomato.
Yeah, it is an active ingredient that comes without side effects. So fluoride, it's dose dependent, but it could have a couple of side effects that I don't want to risk if I have something alternatively that is better. So hydroxyapatite, I find that a natural toothpaste needs to have something active in it. I would also design a couple of, let's say, probiotics into it that kind of balance out the oral microbiome. You could use xylitol. I love xylitol, to be fair, because it's actually an antimicrobial. And the more pathogenic bacteria that we feed when we eat the standard Western diet, like the Streptococcus or the Porphyronas, they feed on the xylitol, but they cannot really eat it, so they die from it.
Wow.
So it's actually kind of like a Trojan horse for them. And it is dose dependent because it's only like micrograms in a toothpaste. It's not that you eat grams of it. So because that could maybe cause some digestive stress, because it's an antimicrobial. If you eat too many xylitol or too much stevia, too much of it, it also affects your gut. So I would add this one in. I'm also having a couple of other various ingredients that protect the gum and seal it. So I would then actually brush my teeth twice a day because it's taking a supplement twice a day. Versus conventionally, I wouldn't even need to brush because of the diet. So I've designed that this one because it's probably the most asked questions that I ever had is, which toothpaste do you recommend, Dr. Domme? None. I can't. I don't even know. And it's various different countries, so everyone has different. So I designed one, and it's finally coming out in Germany. And I think I will be able to make that happen for the US at least early 2025. That is there too.
That's so exciting. We'll help push it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, the second step is then the right nutrients. For over longer than my clinic, I have a supplement company in Germany. It's called Subs Nutrition that has one product. It's called Bone and Teeth, that basically is a one-stop shop for everything that your teeth need. So it's possible to work with supplements according to this, and I'm also going to have that for the US available soon, Supreme Oral Health products. And yeah, I think this is important that you see the mouth as entrance to the system, and you don't need to have tooth decay. Imagine you would never have to see a dentist for dental repair again. That's the goal. I have to repair because right now there is so much repair that we have to repair, let's say at least with the biomaterial. But for my kids, I don't want to have them to go to a dentist. It's not necessary. In nature, there is no tooth decay. We're immune against tooth decay if we have the right nutrients. Western Price already showed it more than 100 years ago. So clean, then instead of the Listerine, you just do coconut oil pulling. You probably do that?
I don't do that.
You don't do it. That's something you should implement as a habit. Just on a daily basis, you probably have extra virgin coconut oil, right?
Yeah, somewhere in the house, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is
there something magical about coconut oil? Why
you could use other oils too, but coconut oil actually has lauric acid in it, which is antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antiviral. So it's good to put that in your mouth because it doesn't nuke anything. It balances the oral microbiome. So the only thing is you have to do it on a daily basis, or let's say at least every other day, 5 to 15 minutes. You just put that teaspoon of coconut oil in your mouth and you swish it around and then you spit it out. I personally just implement it as a strategy. When I cook my breakfast, I have that extra time. I just put it in my mouth, swish it around, and then spit it in the bin, not the sink. That's it. Super simple, Ayurvedic classic strategy no one knows about, and you probably won't find all the research about it, such as with maybe chemical stuff, but it works. And it soothes your oral microbiome. It helps the gums. It's also detoxing, puts a lot of stuff out. And the number 3, besides the natural toothpaste and the oil pulling, would be tongue scraping. Are you doing this?
Yes, occasionally. I do have a tongue scraper, yes.
You have a tongue scraper?
Yeah.
Yeah, tongue scraping is, again, Ayurvedic strategy.
Although there's some debate about tongue scraping, that when you scrape your tongue, you're scraping off some of the bacteria that help to synthesize nitric oxide.
Yeah, depends. Depends on
like
how
the Prevotella bacteria on your tongue.
It depends on how much you do it. So if you have like most people have, let's say, a little bit of like a coated tongue in the morning. That's from food debris, from the wrong diet, and from, let's say, bacteria overload in there. So for them, I would say tongue scraping is a straightforward good idea, also against bad breath. Ideally use a copper one. For you or me, maybe, because our diet is on point, my tongue is never coated. So I don't do it every day. Yeah, but for most people, at the beginning at least, is a good strategy until it's balanced again. And then afterwards, you have only the good bacteria, hopefully. But the third point is always, obviously, besides the oral hygiene, dental repair, such as the 3 questions I asked. Remember, ask anyone out there. Ask. Like, I feel that every health coach, every medical doctor, every department should include oral health, and at least diagnosing it at the beginning of something that we need to change, like optimizing health. And just ask 3 questions. Anyone that listens in, is there any metal in your mouth? Or ask your mom. Metal's in the mouth. Root canals or wisdom tooth removed? If any of the answers is yes, or you stood up, then there's something to optimize. Because dental repair is, let's say, it's just another stressor that you can't biohack. It's not possible. You need to see someone who's skilled to remove it, because dental repair in the first place is super unnatural, right? Yeah, because there's something put into your body that's not supposed to be there, maybe.
Find yourself a BioDentist.
A real BioDentist.
A real BioDentist. Are you a fan of mouth taping?
It depends, yeah. If you're a mouth breather, definitely do it. Again, it's timing. You need to time it wisely, because, for example, why are you mouth breathing? Why are you not getting enough air through your nose? It's different things. Could be your bite that is off. Could be you grew too narrow. But usually it's a combination out of, like, let's say the tissue in your nose and in your gums is bleeding, is a bit swollen. So therefore you don't get as much air as you need. And that's why you start breathing through your mouth. So you have to reverse back engineer it, or can you say that?
You reverse engineer.
Reverse engineer it and find the triggers that, first of all, cause that inflammation. Could be, again, the typical processed foods. Gluten causes to swell. Sugar, obviously, every dentist will tell you sugar is not so good. I'm also not doing any refined vegetable oils, or like highly processed seed oils can also inflame anything. So, and dairy is a big one. I mean, in the biohacking world, they talk about A1 and A2 dairy might be better raw dairy, but for most people, I'll put them off dairy for at least 3 months to get that immune system relaxed again. Because I personally had, for example, tonsillitis as a kid all the time just by eating dairy, because I'm dairy or casein intolerant. So I couldn't do it, always swollen. That's why I developed mouth breathing. And then my bite collapsed. So that was my entrance.
Very individual, though. Some people
do
but great on dairy. Like, I think I do.
Yeah, totally. And if you heal your gut again, you can do quite well with dairy, or you don't even know it. And then you have to see dental repair. Could be that you have a lot of mercury amalgam fillings, or any root canal that also causes swelling. So then mouth taping might not be the right timing, and you have to first do this bit. But then, if everything is clean already and you're healthy, yes, mouth breathing, perfect. To reteach you how to breathe through your nose. And also what you need to understand is where your tongue posture is before you tape your mouth. It should be always like here. There's these little wrinkles behind your incisors. That's where you need to put your tongue. And do this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And this snapping will teach you and stretches the tongue out.
Are you familiar with the trend of mewing?
Yes. Mewing or chiseling jawbone. Like,
There's a big thing now on TikTok. Like people are posting videos of themselves mewing. I had no idea what it was, but it's
basically
this concept promoted by British orthodontists to help reshape the structure of the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any truth to this trend?
Yes. I mean, it's the same as like the gums you're selling over here, like these very strong gums. Have you seen this?
Heard of them.
It's the same principle. Basically, it's training. It's like bodybuilding, just for your jaw muscles. Yeah. What they usually want is like a chiseled jawline, for example, especially men, more masculine, like this outside look. And this muscle here is called masseter. And you see it from biting. Mm-hmm. So if you just constantly, progressively overload that muscle, it will grow.
Like any other muscle.
Like any other muscle. But for that, you need hard food. I think it's probably something subconscious because we all had wider shaped faces, more space for teeth 10,000 years ago when we ate harder foods. Nowadays, we can just drink food, like having a smoothie or super soft food again. That's why we got soft teeth, soft gums, everything is soft. So I understand why people want to do this, but basically just eat hard food. You can just bite on raw carrots and just chew. Chewing will grow your jawbone. Same as breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is the first initial orthodontic treatment. So yes, there's truth to it, but you have to obviously constantly, progressively overload it. So like say, start with 5 minutes, and then you have sore muscle here the next 2 days. Then the next time you do 2 times 5 minutes. Then you do 3 times. Then you work your way up to 3 times 15 minutes on that super hard chewing gum, and it works. Yeah, you can really train it. And obviously, then it gets more square because the muscle is here. Then you also have muscle here and here. Yeah, some people maybe need it. I just eat hard foods.
Should we be avoiding smoothies?
I wouldn't say avoiding it, but I would say focus also on chewing foods. Yeah, I think a smoothie here and there is fine. Just not from morning to evening.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the whole mewing thing is super interesting. Because again, I think it's counterintuitive that as an adult you have agency with regard to the shape, without going under the knife, the shape of your jaw.
I mean, you cannot. So the jaw bones, like for example, if you have a jaw that is super wide to the back, or like the front teeth are overlapping, or the other way around, this is hard to change because it's bony structure. But if it's just about your facial structure, yes, you just train the muscle like you do for your aesthetic body. Just if you want to have that biceps big or the chest, you just train it. Same there. And hard food, try eating super hard food. It's really like intense, and this muscle is actually one of your strongest in the body. Masseter, it's called.
What are some hard foods, like some examples?
Usually, the real foods are usually hard. Like for example, very chewy steak, or let's say more if you also chew on bones. Yeah, we would eat bones, I think, and really chew on them. Hard stuff.
Like a dog?
Raw, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. Raw carrots. Yeah, more. I mean, the hunters and gatherers that are still alive. I mean, Hadza tribes and stuff. They just hunt. And then they eat everything. And more collagen-rich foods tend to be a bit more chewy. And I know that most people, at least the ones I know, they don't like to eat it. They love the fillet. Fillet is quite soft. You don't really have to chew. You can press it with your tongue. It's a sign of healthy food, right?
That's true.
Yeah, no, you should really, like a flank steak is a bit more chewy.
It's one of my favorite cuts.
Yeah.
I had that last night for dinner.
Yeah, I love flank steak too.
It's one of my favorites.
But you have to chew a bit more, right, than a fillet.
Yes, correct.
Doesn't matter. I love a fillet too, but I think this is where we just have to be conscious about that we don't forget to chew. Like grandma told you, maybe chew your food 30 times. If it's a raw carrot, it might be harder, or raw broccoli. I don't eat raw broccoli, but some people do. Then your muscle get more activated. So, and that should be beginning. But imagine what we did as kids, like hyperpalatable foods from morning to evening. I was drinking 3 liters of sugar a day, which is probably 300 grams while skateboarding, and eating McDonald's and all these soft foods. Obviously, I didn't grow properly, but imagine you would feed your kid the right stuff that we're designed to eat. Obviously, you grow bigger and you have more space, and then you don't need to pull your wisdom teeth, because that's a sign of degeneration. And unfortunately, 80% of everyone in the Western world needs to have their wisdom teeth removed, actually, because there's no space for them. 10,000 years ago, we all had 2 sets of wisdom teeth, like 9 teeth per side.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now we don't even have space for 8. Some people don't even have space for 6 and have to take out all the teeth. That's really degenerative. And it starts early. So this is what I'm also a big part of the teaching is training future moms before they even conceive, before they even get pregnant, how to optimize their body, and then how to optimize pregnancy with the right nutrition so that baby grows nicely in the womb. And then breastfeeding. Breastfeeding should be done for at least, if possible. I mean, there's moms out there that can't, I'm sorry. But if you can, and you're actually healthy, then it's the best thing you can do for your immune system, for your baby, but also to bring that jaw forward. Because sucking on a breast, it's about 10 times. You need about 10 times more strength than, for example, on a bottle. And this will pull that jaw forward. At the same time, if you had a baby, you see if they, for example, have a clogged nose, they can't breathe. So it's usually, if the nose is fine, they're sucking, they breathe through their nose. So what does nose breathing do? Nose breathing develops the midface, the jawbone, like the upper jawbone, and the palate and the sinuses. So 18 months would be ideal. Longer is also good. Obviously, the mom needs to be fed correctly so that the breast milk is healthy. Yeah, maybe detox her up front. Should be ideally no mercury fillings in the mouth, obviously, because they transfer directly to the baby. Very different things that you could do, but you maybe realize it's actually all just going back to where we came from. Just living with nature the way we're supposed to be, then we don't need a dentist.
Getting back to basics. Are you
basics.
Are you a fan of these viscous gums that promise to give your jaws a workout?
We actually don't have them in Europe.
Huh.
So because I gave a lot of interviews here already, I get
But they
that
exist?
question.
Do they exist?
Here, yes. You can buy them everywhere. Like, I don't know any brand name, but there are many they're actually super hard to chew on. So that's really a training. So
And is that good for your teeth?
I don't think it's bad for your teeth. Actually, your teeth, if they're healthy, they are hard as a stone, hard as granite. Problem is, if they get decayed, they get soft and mushy and like a smoothie. They're just falling apart. So yes, if you have healthy teeth and healthy bones, it actually makes them more strong. Same with the bones here. You know that progressive overload and lifting heavy stuff makes the bone structure harder and more longevity. Same here.
Wow, you're
it's just
right.
one body, right?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
just-
One of the best ways of boosting bone strength is by lifting weights.
Exactly. Heavy weight, heavy load, because then it pulls on it. Same here, heavy load. And we want to have as much muscle as possible. Like everywhere in the body is fine. Depending, I mean, this is an aesthetic thing when it comes to chiseled jawbones. Some people really need it, also maybe medically speaking, because they're really underdeveloped. I think you can probably go ahead with just eating proper food.
Yeah.
But if you want to have that, let's say, more square, masculine look, yeah, why not? Train it a little bit. Progressively overload your jaw muscle. Like a bicep.
Like a bicep. How can people find real biological dentists in their towns, cities?
There's a directory. So the real BioDentists, I've only started to create that tribe this year, 2024. So, but there is already a directory there are different levels of it, like level 1, level 2, level 3. But also I know that there's, for example, biological dentistry, the word is not, you cannot trademark it. So everyone could call himself a biological dentist, and then they do a biological root canal treatment.
There's like no standards.
No standards at all. And this was my problem because of me being a little bit more prominent now, people, at least in Europe or in Germany, telling their patients on their web pages they are really good biological dentists having trained with Dr. Domme, but they haven't. So it's really bad for patients. Therefore, the real biodentists do all the 3 levels. And there's a directory for that you can find online. There are a couple of them already in the US. One is in like New York area. There's 2 guys here in LA. There's a couple of ones in Florida. So I'm working on it. And I'm working towards at least 1,000 real biodentists. And if they get to level 3, they will teach themselves. So we can really make this a big, massive movement. Because my goal is it's not about me. I want to help as many people as possible reaching optimal health by starting in the mouth. So that's why I created this level of standard and certification now.
We love it, man. Well, more power to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Where can people pick up your book? Where can they find you on social media if they want to learn more? Where can they support your work?
Thanks. So the book it's all in your mouth. You can probably find it in all the stores or online, Amazon. But if you want to know about me, Instagram is probably the best strategy because there's link trees and stuff. Instagram, my name is Dr. Dom E, and then the number 1, Dr. Domme 1, Germany's Dome. Yeah, it's just the abbreviation of Dominik.
Is it not Dome? Dr. Dome? That's how I think of, like, that's how I refer
It's
to it
actually,
in my head.
how would you abbreviate Dominik? It's probably Dom in English.
Dom.
Yeah, that's how it is. Dr.
D-O-M.
Dom.
Dr. Dom.
Dr. Dom 1. Yeah, Dr. Dom is the
God,
name.
this whole time I've been saying Dr. Dome.
That's just, yeah, because in English it's
Yeah.
probably, if you spell it Dome. I had everyone. Like, I also had Dr. Doomy and stuff like this. Like, people are coming up with crazy things.
Marvel
Dom.
supervillain.
Yeah, Health Avenger.
Dr. Doom,
So,
right? Yeah, something like
Doom would be, yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Doom is more like a super villain.
you probably lose some
That would be,
prospective customers if you're
yeah, if I'm Dr.
as a
Doom.
dentist if you're Dr. Doom, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Doom. No, I'm not Dr. Doom.
Dr. Dom.
Exactly.
Dr.
Just
Dom.
Dom, like the one from Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Just Dominik in short.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming in, man. One last question for you. Where well, you've already shared your social handles. Yeah, so the last question that gets asked everybody on the show, what does living a genius life mean to you? It's a bit more philosophical.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like having a purpose. And just my goal is always to be a little kid, stay curious every single day, optimize my body so that I wake up energized, I can move my body and have a couple of habits, start my day with workouts, just basically be super healthy and therefore creative and find a good community and like-minded people that you can co-elevate yourself with. I call them the Health Avengers, guys like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that it's important that people in our realm, we can inspire a lot of patients and people to get really healthy and that we work together, not in a competitive mode, which is a lot in medical, but in co-elevation. And this is the fun part for me, meeting and then creating something new together and changing the world. And yeah, I think that therefore you have a strong sense of purpose, and that's why I'm on that mission. And yeah, I mean, treat your life as like a present, in the present. That's about it.
I love it,
And
man.
optimal health starts in the mouth, obviously.
Optimal health starts in the mouth. I love it, dude. Well, thanks so much for coming out. This was super fun. And yeah, had a great time with you when we met at first at the Health Optimization Summit. That was super fun. I'm looking forward to attending and speaking and whatever, you know, when they're able to make it stateside. So shout out to Biohacker Tim for doing that. And thanks for coming out. Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.